Hey guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. All right, guys, I'm back, and it is still August 8th, and it's 10:44 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm just going to pick up from where I left off in the last video, except, unfortunately, our friend Xander here has gotten down and is now playing with Sammy in a big box that my new one pot came in. I've got, it's my birthday coming up on, is it Monday or Tuesday? I don't know. And my mom bought me one of those kind of Instapots that you can make everything in. So they're playing about in the box. So they will only have another roughly hour to do that because I'll be taking the box to recycling. Anyway, let's get into the news, which I know you're here for. I hope everyone is doing well. And let's just pick up from where I left off in the last video. I took a brief break, and that's why I disturbed our friend Xander here. So anyway, let's get to it. Pitter patter, let's get at her. All right, now this is the next news item that I wanted to show you. And of course, we have the weight loss again. Always with the weight loss. Not sure what that's about. And I probably have watermelon juice all over me because I grabbed some watermelon during the break. All right. Now, ads for ultra-violent satire, The Hunt movie that shows elites stalking deplorables yanked after mass shootings. Now, this is a movie that is supposed to be coming up. I guess it's commercials for an ultraviolet political satire called The Hunt have reportedly been pulled after the EP and Dayton mass shootings. The movie features elites stalking and killing deplorables, a term Hillary Clinton called supporters of Donald Trump during the 2016 presidential campaign. The violent R-rated film from producer Jason Blumhouse follows a dozen MAGA types who wake up in a clearing and realize they are being stalked for sport by elite liberals, The Hollywood Reporter writes. Blumhouse is a studio behind The Purge horror satire series. Now, this idea of these MAGA types waking up in a clearing and realizing they're being stalked for sport is not that far-fetched, because we know that the elite do, in fact, participate in this exact sport. They have very private villas and so forth. One of the places that this is alleged to have happened is a Rothschild house way. I'm not even sure where it is now, but it was put up for sale recently, which I thought was very interesting. And it's reported that that occurred there, but there are many, many places where this happened. I ended up with a picture that somebody sent to me, and I got rid of it because I was very nervous with having it on my computer. But it depicted a young black boy dead. His pants were pulled down, and a man was standing over him with a rifle. He had been shot, and like he was a trophy. And it made me so sick to my stomach. I got rid of it. I couldn't bear to look at it because it made it all so real. It's like we hear about the things that went on underground on a certain island, and you know, we heard that and it was all stories until you see some evidence of it. And there is another video that has come out. It's got places marked out of it, but it's still shots from a video that from the dark web showing Hillary Clinton and Huma torturing a young girl. So these things are real. People are, these ideas come from somewhere. Now, I know some stuff is just plain fiction, whatever, but there is reality to this. Now, not that they have ever stalked, well, they have stalked Trump supporters, but not in a literal way. They have been more, verbally abusive. But this is not that far-fetched in terms of, it is far-fetched in that it's hard to take a leap that they would ever do that, but you've also got posters going up in New York about putting Trump supporters in prison camps, concentration camps, death camps. So yeah, that's pretty extreme. Now, yeah, I'm sure that's just a small fraction of people who feel that way, but still, it's out there. And this film was very violent and so forth, and they have yanked the ads for this, as well they should have. Over the August 3rd weekend, ESPN pulled an ad for the film that it had previously cleared while AMC ran the spot during the season premiere of its drama, The Preacher. It's unclear whether the ads were identical, but the one yanked by ESPN opened with a sound resembling an emergency broadcast signal. Rep for ESPN, parent Disney, declined to comment on the movie or on the move, but an ESPN source said no spots for the film will appear on the network in the coming weeks. Actress Hilary Swank and Betty Gilpin from Glow star in the movie, in which the elites hunt down a group of 12 ordinary Americans, or as the reporter writes, MAGA types who wake up in a clearing and realize they are being stalked by elite liberals. The reporter says that one scene in The Hunt shows liberal characters picking their targets because they expressed anti-choice positions or used the N-word on Twitter. War is war, says one character after shoving a stiletto heel through the eye of a denim-clad hillbilly. Now, you know, really, this also reminds you of the movie, The Hunger Games. And I remember seeing that movie because everybody had been raving about it and so forth. And I thought, well, I'm going to see it. I saw it late. But it's interesting because, yes, the whole premise of the movie is fiction and it was pretty well done. But the whole premise of making people hunting people down and using that as entertainment, that is being done. I know in this day and age you think, oh, come on. Well, it is. They have hunting parties, and that is where some of these missing people go. It is a sport, just like going and hunting rhinoceroses or whatever, and it's a big trophy. But anyway, I digress. Okay, given the fraught political climate, particularly in the wake of the attack in EP, which was motivated by anti-immigrant bigotry, no, it wasn't, because if this person, which I don't believe it was one person, because everybody said they saw multiple shooters clad in all black with a black mask, if they wanted to kill immigrants, they could have gone to the border. Would have made more sense. They could have killed immigrants in Dallas and not had to travel all the way to EP. So it doesn't make sense. And if they were targeting immigrants, then why did white people die? Doesn't make sense to me, but you know, still they'll keep up that narrative as if it makes sense and people will believe it. So anyway, studio sources say Universal is evaluating its plan in what one called a fluid situation. A high-level insider says top executives want to stand by Bloom, one of the studio's most prolific and successful producers, as well as filmmaker Craig Zobel, and see the project as satire addressing an issue of great social importance. But this person says plans could change if people think we're being exploitive rather than opinionated. Yes, you're being exploitive rather than opinionated, and it's a very dangerous precedent to set. So there you go. And it says, not surprisingly, the deplorables end up turning the tables on the elites, and you can guess the ending. Well, I don't want to guess the ending, and I don't want to see it, and I'm not going to. And you can't make me. So there you go. Let's go back and see what other things we can find. Oh, it's not hard to find, is it? Now, all these weight loss, I'm telling you, I don't know, but is somebody trying to tell me something? Now, I did used to be bigger, but maybe they just, I don't know, maybe they have old information and they're just like, oh, need to lose weight, need to lose weight. I don't know. Anyway, Brennan lashes out at Trump, attacks First and Second Amendments in wake of back-to-back mass shootings and hate speech. Excuse me. Of course, I'm doing 2 videos and the cough shows up. Okay, let's, okay, John Brennan, never let a crisis go to waste, right? Former CIA chief John Brennan lashed out at President Trump on Wednesday following the back-to-back mass shootings that took place over the weekend. And for those of you that might be new, I do have to disguise certain words because they are trigger words that cause censorship. And if this video ever wants to make it, to air, then that has to pretty much take place for some words because they are sensitive words that are censored. So most of my regular listeners know that. Well, probably all of my regular listeners know that. But if you're new, that is why I am saying certain words in a funny way, like buns for, yeah. All right, Brennan is completely unhinged and called for the ban of semi-automatic weapons and high-capacity ammunition magazines. Brennan then said, end hate speech that incites violence. Well, then he should keep his mouth shut. Anyway, yeah, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in as a country if not for John Brennan. So, yeah, he's not one to talk, really. Brennan said, and I'm telling you, have you ever seen a more miserable man? This man looks like he hates everyone, including himself, and probably his own dog, if he has one, which if I was his dog, I'd run away or pee on his leg, one or the other. So, yeah. So Brennan is completely unhinged. Brennan then said, end hate speech that incites violence. There is no such thing as hate speech, and the U.S. Supreme Court has already made a clear ruling on this. Furthermore, hate speech, defined by the tech giants and radical leftists, is any speech that disagrees with their communist views. Brennan then attacked President Trump and said, return moral, honest, and competent leadership to the Oval Office. Well, look at who is talking about moral and honest leadership. But the most dishonest and immoral person that, he might not, he doesn't top Hillary, but, he's getting there. He's trying to. Yeah. So the Democrats aren't even hiding it anymore. They are openly calling for the First and Second Amendments to be effectively abolished. Democrat Senator and 2020 presidential candidate Cory Booker demanded Trump cancel all of its rallies because they are a breeding ground for racism. New red flag gun control legislation being pushed would allow feds to take guns away from veterans and anybody else that they deem not mentally fit. But here's the thing. You start, and it sounds good. Sure, it sounds good. Yeah, we need red flag laws. But how far it's a slippery slope. Yeah, there's red flags for, mental illness, as there probably should be, because you don't want somebody that's depressed having a gun, because for obvious reasons. But on the other hand, how far do you go? Like, it's a slippery slope because they just keep taking a little ground and a little ground. It's like, when the raging seas are dissolving the coastline, you don't notice that right away. You may not notice it for hundreds of years, but then you think, well, gosh, this is like, a tenth of a mile further back than it was before, So that is what I see for this red flag law. I see more and more and more ground being taken out from underneath us, like the waves of the ocean crashing in on the shorelines and just eroding them just by the constant washing of that tide and the water. And that is what it is. And we're standing on the shoreline, and a little bit more ground is taken, and a little bit more ground, and a little bit more, until you're in the water and you're drowning. That's what I see this as. All right. Excuse me. Now, let's go back because we can. And here is President Donald J. Trump. He says the Dems' new weapon is actually their old weapon, one which they never cease to use when they are down or run out of facts. Racism. They are truly disgusting. They even use it on Nancy Pelosi. I will be putting out a list of all people who have been so ridiculously accused, which is just about any, like, okay, if you're white, raise your hand if you've been called racist. Okay, I think every single white person that's listening is raising their hand, and probably some blacks and Latinos and Asian and whatever, because I think at some point in our life, everybody has been called racist. It's just the thing to do. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. You're accused. Whatever you say, if somebody doesn't agree with you, they won't actually have a conversation with you and discuss it like a rational human being. They'll just say, well, you're racist. Why is it because I agree that that I'm racist, which has nothing to do with racism. Doesn't matter, you're racist. That's why you think that way. You're racist. You can't have a conversation with that. How do you have a conversation with that? You're racist. Everything you bring up, everything you say, you're racist. That's it. That's why you're racist. That's the answer to everything to these people. Anyway. Ooh, that didn't sound good. One of the cats being the cats. Now this by Wyatt. Pass the red flag laws, and the next time the Democrats control all three branches of government, they will red flag all of you, which eventually will lead to re-education camps. From there, it will end up being, you notice your retired veteran neighbor disappear and nobody knows why. And he's responding to this person who said, we all know the FISA court was used against a presidential candidate. Imagine what they could do with red flag laws. You can't argue with that. It's true. And then beneath that, Wyatt says, they keep threatening, just wait till we get back in power. Trust me, I believe them. They are out for blood. There is no doubt that it will be abused routinely. No doubt in my mind either. And, speaking about veterans, there was a situation, and I'm not going to say where this happened, but it happened to a good friend of mine. And it happened, of course, in the States. And he was visiting his parents, and they had a neighbor who was a veteran. And for some reason, they became, concerned about his safety. And one day, his parents just came out, and the police were there and said, get dressed and leave. And they said, why? And they said, well, we're setting up here. They just said that they were setting up, and I can't remember what they said, but they were setting up on their property, and they didn't have any choice. They had to leave. And, they were elderly. And when they found out it was the back neighbor who lived way at the back of the property it was his own property, but it was at the back of their property. He lived in a mobile home at the back there, and never bothered anyone. And my friend's parents and my friend had grown up with this person, knew them very well. And they had come back from some war, and they were a little bit troubled, but they begged, and they said, please let us go talk to him. Let us go talk to him, and we'll get you the weapon. Please just we know him really well. We've known him since he was a boy, and he's always been really good to us. Let us go talk. And they said no, and they had to leave. Well, they actually set up sharpshooters on their property, and they just took him out, just like that. Just took him out. And it shook my friend so bad. He called me, and he was just like very, very shaken. And he said, I can't believe what just happened. I can't believe it. Now, I don't know why they thought this person was such a threat, but they did, and they just took him out. He was a veteran with a gun. And I guess he was experiencing some problems psychologically, probably from what he saw. And they just took him out, just like that. Now, you think that's not going to happen, or it doesn't happen? It happens all the time. That's not the first time I've heard that, but it's the first time it was somebody that I knew and that I knew would not lie. So yeah, this is a very dangerous and a very slippery slope. Okay, now I want to show you this, and this is really fascinating, and it's coming up. So okay, now this is by Montana agent Applebutt, and she is an agent for, I believe she's an agent for Able Danger. So she found this, and she is retweeting it, and she's saying, what the hell is this? Does this need reported? Well, at first I didn't even think this was I thought it was a real person, but I didn't know he was anybody famous. But let's listen to this, okay? Now, I'm sorry here, because this is really, really low, and I can't help that. Let me see if everything is up full blast here. I'll put this up, and this we'll put up to the highest, and let me go back here, okay? I hope you can hear it. Okay. Okay, he's saying, I'm Gilbert Godfrey, and that is a real person. And he said, and this is for San Francisco. Stay off the Golden Gate Bridge on August 11th. Or I'll shake you down. Here I come. Shout out to corpse. He said, here I come, shout out to corpse. And he's saying, I am Gilbert Godfrey, who's a real person. He is a comedian. And he said, I'm a warning to stay off the Golden Gate Bridge on August 11th, or I'll shake you down. Shout out to corpse. Now, yes, he is a comedian. Now, who is this guy? Well, I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to show you who this is, because I didn't know, but he looked a little familiar, and I knew that voice from somewhere. I thought, that voice sounds familiar to me. So this is who he is, Gilbert Godfrey, and he is an American stand-up comedian, actor, and voice actor. He was born February 28, 1955, is an American stand-up comedian, actor, and voice actor. Godfrey's persona as a comedian features an exaggerated, shrill voice and emphasis on crude humor. Now, so at first I thought, oh, okay, this is just a comedic thing. But then I thought, well, isn't that weird? And what if he did have some knowledge, but he was using it, his comedic whatever, to get it across, because maybe I don't know. But here's the interesting thing about this, okay? He's saying, stay off the Golden Gate Bridge on August 11th. You're going to, or I'll come and shake you down. So to me, that's an earthquake, something. And then he said, shout out to corpse. Okay. So, and it seemed to me that he said, let's go back here just for a second, because I do want this to be as clear as possible. I think he said, hang on. Being sent, this is for San Francisco, being sent by, and it sounds like he's saying ARP, A-R-P. I don't even know what that is, and I looked it up and still don't know what it is. But he said, yeah, this is Arthur Godfrey, and this is for San Francisco, being sent by ARP. And, you know, then he goes about and he says, stay off of San Francisco, the Golden Gate Bridge, and on August 11th, or I'll come and shake you down, shout out to corpse. Now, let's go back again. and find, so August 11th, and I looked it up because I thought, anything being predicted for August 11th, or what, any significance to August 11th? Well, there is. August 11th is an Islamic holy day, and it is called, I don't know how to pronounce this, Eid al-Adha, also called Festival of the Sacrifice. Have you ever seen these pictures? And this is one of them, but I am not enlarging it because the first time I saw it was enough. I don't need that in my head. But they slaughter just hundreds, thousands of animals, and the blood runs in the street. So it's called the Festival of the Sacrifice, is the second of two Islamic holidays celebrated worldwide each year and considered the holier of the two. It honors the willingness of Abraham to sacrifice his son, which would be Isaac, as an act of obedience to God's command. So yeah, it's interesting. That's what they do. They just slaughter animals and so forth. But it's interesting that he's calling for this on August 11th. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to this or not. I need to keep looking into it because there's something to this. Now, it could be a joke. He's a comedian, but did you find that funny? Would you find that funny? I don't. And what would be his reason? So that's what this agent Applebutt said, and I was just going to come down here to see if there's anything else here. So let's look at this. The next false flag, Golden Gate Bridge, 8/11/19. Dome of the Rock, 8/10/19. So are they saying there's going to be an FF on 8/10 and 8/11? I don't know, but it says whatever this is will begin in the evening of Saturday, August 10th, and ends in the evening of Sunday, August 11th. And it's called the 9th of Av, is the annual fast day in Judaism on which a number of disasters in Jewish history occurred. And that is true. I know that for a fact. Primarily the destruction of both Solomon's temple by the Neo-Babylonian Empire and the Second Temple by the Roman Empire in Jerusalem. The ritual of sacrifice on 9/11/2001 paid tribute to the destruction of the two temples. So this is interesting, and let's go forward here. And I'm not bringing this to you as the gospel truth. I don't know. I'm just bringing you what I found. Now, it could be right and it could be wrong. I don't know. But it's good to know. I mean, it's good to be, and if that was me living in San Francisco, yeah, I would stay off the Golden Gate Bridge on August 11th. And then if nothing happened, I'd just go, well, at least I'm safe. But if you poo-poo it and then you're going, well, I'm going to hang out on the Golden Gate Bridge just to see if anything happens, and something happens, well, you were warned. So I'm getting good at this. This person says Jupiter went retrograde on April 10th from the ecliptic and doesn't align again until August 11th. Ooh, that's interesting. 2019, wow, same time as Tisha B'Av. This smells bad, folks. The black hole in the center of the Milky Way is the Golden Gate in astrology. Oh my gosh. This is interesting stuff. I don't care who you are. It's interesting. The black hole in the center of the Milky Way is the Golden Gate in astrology. I lit fire these folks up. I don't know. Here's the incredible history of science that led to the first ever black hole image. And, I don't have a link here, but let me see. On August 11th, 2019, this is the galactic center. The Golden Gate is here. And Earth, Sun, planets, zodiac, Silvergate is here. So I don't know what this is actually showing. Again, I'm going to have to look further into this. I've been out of commission for a couple days, and some of these things are very interesting to me, and I want to delve into deeper. The first and second temples in Jerusalem, as well as the Twin Towers, were all destroyed on the same numerological date, 9/11. Tish B'Av is regarded as the saddest day in the Jewish calendar and is thus believed to be a day which is destined for tragedy. Solomon's temple in Jerusalem was destroyed 9/11, 587 BC. And Herod's temple in Jerusalem was destroyed 9/11, 70 AD. Twin Towers, New York, destroyed 9/11, 2001 AD. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily God's doing. I don't believe that. I think that whoever, and we know that it was an inside job, but whatever happened to the Twin Towers, somebody knows this history, because that's not a coincidence. And Tisha B'Av equals 9/11 in Jewish gematria. Now, I know people say that gematria is occult or whatever. Okay, it doesn't matter if you believe it or not. They believe it. They do. So that's the issue. I know a lot of people have said, don't talk about gematria because it's occult. I know that. There is something to it, but it doesn't matter if you believe it, if I believe it. It's what they believe. So Tish B'Av is the 9th day of the 11th Hebrew month. So this is very interesting. So I don't know what's going to happen. I know it's one day before my birthday, so I hope nothing horrific happens, not because my birthday is of any importance at all. In fact, I'd rather forget it because, the older you get, the more you want to age in reverse, right? So, but it's just, I wouldn't want a birthday associated with anything bad. Anyway, so let's go down here and see what else is in this thread since the last time I looked at it. And it says, normally I'd take it serious, but it's Gilbert Godfrey, my pet ferret. Could kick his ass. Come to think of it, he resembles my ferret. Yeah, but that's not the point. You can't kill the messenger. Yeah, he's a comedian, and maybe this is just all a farce. Maybe he's doing this because he knows about this tradition, but I don't know. Maybe he does know something and just happens to be a comedian. I don't know. I am not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying that it's worth our time to look at. And so let me see. And it could be if the Golden Gate, he's saying San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. So, okay, it is referring to that. But it's interesting that there's a Golden Gate celestially. That's not even a word, is it? All right. Okay, let me see if there's anything else here that is interesting. So, okay, and this is from an Anon. Saw this the other night on 4chan, which of course the chans are gone right now. They're not, I don't believe that they're gone forever, but until they find another platform, there's no queue. So, it says TLDR, the Golden Gate Bridge is going to get effed this Sunday, whether by massive man-made earthquake or possible terror related. So, and it's interesting, they've got a link here to the mirror.co.uk. It says intelligence agencies braced fresh terror, whatever. And he says you heard it first here, him or her. We don't know who this Anon is, but... and this, somebody said, this is replying to, the agent. He's saying August 11th, 2019 is like 11 plus 8 plus 20 plus 19 equals 58. let's look at the same words matching the number 58 in numerology. Jerusalem, third temple. Solomon, S temple. The first temple got destroyed on Tisha B'Av. Herod's temple, the second temple that was destroyed on Tisha B'Av. Red heifer, Freemasonry, Rosicrucian, secret society, Scottish rites, dollar, Gregorian. I'm not sure what this person is saying by that, so that was kind of a waste of our time. But I was just seeing if there was anything else. August 11th is the 223rd day of the year, 224 in leap years in the Gregorian calendar, 142 days remain to the end of the year, 223/322, skull and bones. I think that's stretching it a bit, but anyway, we're going to go back. I'm going to see if I can find any more information on this and dig a little bit deeper on it and see what I can come up with. And maybe I will have something tomorrow, and maybe I'm just going to come up with a goose egg. I don't know, but I'll try. Now, let's go back. You can't say it wasn't interesting, though. You just can't say it wasn't interesting. All right, now, here's something else interesting. Now, let me just see if I missed anything. No, I didn't. Okay. Now, this comes from, the name is in Japanese, so I can't pronounce it, obviously, but it's at Trump Hat Japan. It says, bring the IP location of the poster and the time and show them who was posting after gunfire was already reported. And this is in response to Julian's rum, because you know that the 8chans have been, or the owner of the 8chan has been asked to testify at Congress about this so-called manifesto. However, interestingly enough, according to the IP location of the poster and the time, they posted it after, this was posted after the gunfire was already reported. So how did this gunman not only have time to change his clothes? We know he wasn't wearing the same pants when he was arrested as when he was shooting, or else it wasn't the same person. Either one could be true. But how did he manage to change the magazine, or whatever it's called? I guess it's the magazine, because it only shoots so many rounds, but there was 60 people shot. So how did he manage to change that? And how did he manage to get that many shots off in 20 minutes? And also, you know, from what I understand from comments and so forth, people are saying that's an amazing feat, because this has a lot of kickback, and it would cause a lot of damage to your shoulder, if, especially, he's a very slight man. It's not like he's, you know, Rambo. So that's number one. How did he manage that all by himself? You know, we know that there were multiple because everybody saw it. But, you know, if we go with the acceptable narrative that is on mainstream media, then this person who was pictured in cargo pants going in, but when arrested only just had plain kind of a cream colored khaki pants, but well, I call them khaki even though they're not khaki. They're just kind of a cream colored cotton pant. And how did he change his pants? I'd like to know that. And how was he managing in between the gunfire to post this manifesto? Boy, he's a talented man. I mean, my gosh, he's talented. Could you do that? Get off all those rounds, change your pants, and post your manifesto while you're shooting? Wow, incredible. Just incredible. So, anyway, and here we have active fruiter in area, Gateway East, seen as blah, blah, blah. And this is from, I'm not sure what we're seeing here, to tell you the truth. Let me see. This is from 8/3/19. I think this is showing that the fruiting had already begun. Says FML nervous as hell. This is the actual manifesto. Brothers, of course, only spread it if the attack is something. So I don't know, but it's got the times here, and that's what it's showing, that this was actually posted. And according to the owner of 8chan, this was posted, the manifesto, was posted after the shooting had begun. So, how do you explain that? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. In fact, I don't think it can be explained. I think somebody else posted it. And obviously, this kid did not write that. Have you read it? There is not a chance this kid wrote that. It's too perfectly laid out, perfect grammar, perfect spelling. Don't believe it. All right, so let's just go on here because we've got a lot and time's a-ticking. All right, now let's listen to this, shall we? Of course we shall. And the question was, do you believe the president really supports the KKK?
He doesn't deny them at a minimum.
So I totally disavow the Ku Klux Klan. I totally disavow David Duke.
When you say the party is self-destructive, what do you see as the biggest problem with the Reform Party right now?
Well, you've got David Duke just bigot, racist, crap. This is one example of people who know. So are you prepared right now to make a clear and unequivocal statement renouncing the support of all white supremacists?
Of course I am. Of course I am.
Do I have to reject? I've rejected David Duke. I've rejected the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan. About the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. In one voice, our nation must condemn racism, bigotry, and white supremacy.
Now, so here's Joe Biden. I know, collective eye roll. Joe Biden falsely claims that today, well, this is, when was this? This was August 7th, yesterday. Joe Biden falsely claimed today that President Trump doesn't deny the KKK. No. Well, what did I just hear? Because it seems to me that I just heard here 7 times him deny them. 7 times. And it says here are 7 examples of President Trump condemning and rejecting the KKK and the NNs and the WSs. You know, I have to speak that way. I'm sorry, but it's one thing when President Trump says it, but if somebody trying to reveal the truth of what Donald Trump said, well, there's, censorship. All right, so let's go back here. No, really, let's. And I'm going to have to pick it up here, but let me see. All righty, yes. This is another very, very interesting thing. George Soros' secret 2016 access to state exposes big money hypocrisy of the Democrats. Well. Really? No, not the Democrats.
Opinion contributor John Solomon writes, quote, liberal megadonor George Soros made some big bets during the last U.S. presidential election. One was that Hillary Clinton would win the presidency. Another was that he could reshape Ukraine's government to his liking and that his business empire might find fertile ground in that former Soviet state. Solomon continues, quote, so when Donald Trump's improbable march to the White House picked up steam in the spring of 2016, Team Soros marched to the top of the State Department to protect some of those investments, according to newly released department memos providing a rare glimpse into the Democratic donors' extraordinary access to the Obama administration.
Yeah, that surprises, let me see now, no one. So then Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland received repeated calls, emails, and meeting requests from Soros, according to the memos obtained under the Freedom of Information Act by the conservative group Citizens United. And on May 25th, for example, Chris Canavan of the Soros Fund Management firm provided Nuland a written briefing under the heading Russia Sovereign Bond Issue. At the time, Russian President Vladimir Putin's regime posed a threat to Soros' vision for Ukraine. Toria, here is my take on Russians' foray into the bond market this week. Based on the market chatter I've been able to pick up, Canavan wrote in an email released with heavy redactions hiding most of his advice to Nuland. Canavan worked on the for-profit side of the Soros empire, and his cozy nickname relationship with a top state official responsible for Russia and Ukraine policy speaks volumes about the access Soros was afforded. Yeah, he calls her Toria instead of Victoria. Sounds pretty cozy. 6 days later, the nonprofit side of the Soros empire rang the same doorbell. Soros and his top foundation official in Ukraine scored a hastily arranged call with Nuland to discuss European migration policy. Many thanks for sorting today's call on such short notice. Much appreciated, a Soros official wrote Nuland's aide. During the call, Mr. Soros promised A.S. Nuland he would send her his draft article on migration policy for the New York Review of Books. Few people in the world could command the attention of one of America's busiest, most influential diplomats for a pre-publication read of a column. Soros apparently was one of those few. A little over a week later, Soros' team reached out again to Nuland, this time seeking to discuss EU visa liberalization for Ukraine and Georgia. After meeting in Brussels with a top European official, according to the emails to state, Soros' team wanted the U.S. to intervene to get the EU to erase visa rules to help Ukraine as the country pursued reforms advocated by Soros. Nuland wrote back, alerting Soros' top policy advisor on Eurasia, Jeff Goldstein, to a key piece of intelligence. One EU country has changed its mind, and she was happy to discuss this further. We are working it. Not sure whether intervention by GS would help, Nuland answered in response to Soros' pressure. Soros is arguably one of the largest, most influential donors of his generation, giving away as much as $1 billion a year to nonprofit and political causes and leaving an indelible print on policy positions of liberals worldwide. His reach and influence range from 24 prosecutors he helped elect in the United States to fellows he helped train at the State Department, to global media institutions that he supports to the tune of $26 million annually. His many admirers in America, including such financial beneficiaries as Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and Hillary Clinton, as well as many of the 2020 presidential candidates, all advocate to eliminate the corrupting influence of big political money and the access that big donors win inside government. Often, those liberals suggest it's a Republican problem. Yeah, right. But the 2016 state memos offered a powerful irony. In many ways, Soros is emblematic of the very financial influence and access that liberals seek to eliminate. People close to Soros told me in interviews that he often had contact with government officials during the Obama years. No. Including a 2010 meeting with Clinton at State, but they acknowledged the flurry with Nuland in spring 2016 was unusual, both for its frequency and intensity. They said the exchanges were driven by Soros' concern about Ukraine's future, not politics or business. George Soros is the founder of an organization that gives away $1 billion a year to promote democracy. Right, democracy. Okay. And human rights. Right. Human rights, says the former Nazi who took away the possessions of the Jews. I mean, yes, he was a Jew, but he joined the enemy in taking away the rights of the Jew. And when asked if it bothered him, he said, no, not at all. Anyway, yes, great humanitarian he is. It is for the reason that people at the State Department speak to him, not because he is a political donor, top Soros aide Michael Vachon told me, but a close examination of internal Soros organization documents show a close alignment of his political, business, and philanthropic interests, especially in 2016. Federal election records show Soros was one of the top 10 donors to Clinton's 2016 election effort, giving a whopping $10.6 million to her campaign and the super PACs supporting it. And when Soros sought to build U.S. pressure on Ukraine policy in 2016, he turned to Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta, as a prelude to Nuland. Both the migration crisis and Ukraine are part of his view of Europe as falling apart and the U.S. as ultimately not doing enough to prevent the political disintegration of its most important ally. Vachon wrote Podesta in a March 2016 email that U.S. officials say was hacked by Russia and published by WikiLeaks. That email sought a meeting with the Clinton campaign chairman. Politics and policy intertwined. Likewise, Soros set out a bold vision in an internal 2014 memo for his Open Society Foundation to help root out corruption in Ukraine and build a civil society after the Maidan Revolution ousted the country's Russia-friendly president. It worked with U.S. Department of Justice, DOJ officials to leverage the so-called kleptocracy initiative to fight corruption. The initiative enabled DOJ to prosecute or seek asset forfeitures from foreigners suspected of corruption, even if the crimes didn't technically occur on U.S. soil. Such initiatives are noble in principle, but in Ukraine, some targets had political and business implications as well. Now, I don't know. There's a lot to this, and what I'm going to do, well, there's that, and then there's this article right beneath it that you might be interested in. So I am going to put the link here in the description. Actually, I'll put it as I'll pin it as the first comment. So for your perusal. All right, and let's go back. I mean, we know that this goes on. We know he has plenty of influence, or had plenty of influence in Obama's administration, and certainly he and Hillary, I was going to call her Killary, both are, appropriate. So anyway, yeah. Oops. Ooh, we've got some power issues here. Some browning. When the power doesn't go out, but the light's brown. We've had storms in the area, so I don't know. All right, let's go back here and let me see. Let's go right here and see what this says. I can't remember what this is. Oh, yes. This is, I'm going to leave, instead of going through this, I'm going to leave the link for this as well, because time is running out. And what I'm going to do, this actually, it says the Federal Reserve interest rates and the communist globalized central banking system explained in 2 minutes. And I think it's worth your time for everybody to listen to this. It's only 2 minutes, and it really does a good job of explaining. So I'm not going to take the time now, but I do promise I will leave that as the first comment pinned. I will leave the links to these two things. And let's go back. I'm trying to get through as much as I can. Let's look at this. And yes, very interesting. This person, C-B-E-T-T-S, Mother Moraira, owns, that's interesting because I have never heard anyone called Moraira except from this area, because we have a Moraira River, and that is a name in this area, but I've never heard anybody else have that name. So fascinating. Anyway, she owns Mindthern, a company that has government contracts with DARPA. Oh, really? Does she really now? Isn't that interesting? Seems to be a common theme in these so-called fruitings. So she has government contracts with DARPA, has 81 employees, and an estimated annual revenue of $27.3 million. Yet, she manages a Bath and Body Works. And who owns Bath and Body Works? That's right, Les Wexner. Where have we heard that name before? Jeffrey Epstein. Les Wexner he gave Epstein the mansion that he owns in Manhattan, and the largest private home in Manhattan. Massive, absolutely massive. It has heated sidewalks out front. heated sidewalks. So we don't even have sidewalks in Canada. My gosh, who has heated sidewalks? Anyway, he does. So yeah, she manages a Bath and Body Works owned by none other than Les Wexner. Yeah. In fact, I don't like Bath and Body Works, but we do have one locally, and I'm never going to go there again. I do like their candles, but not anymore. And I prefer Bath and Body or the Body Shop anyway, because not all of their products are not tested on animals, and they're all ethically sourced and natural. So I do like their products just because I feel good about using them, and they're wonderful, but never Bath and Body Works again. So for me anyway, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying for me, I don't feel good anymore shopping there. And not that I did that much, but okay. So this is interesting. So she, very odd that she has contracts with DARPA, has 81 employees, annual revenue of 27.3 million, yet she manages a Bath and Body Works. Things that make you go, yeah. So safe to say that might be a cover. Yeah, I would say that's a cover. Usually people that net 27.3 million don't work at Bath and Body Works. I think that's pretty safe to assume. So let's look at this, and this is so small. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see this or not. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Oh, wrong way. Let's see. Okay, so this is apparently the mother of the fruiter, and she is 53 and lives in Bellbrook, Ohio. And these are the places where she used to work, and her businesses, Minethorn Technology Inc., who, let me see, going back using the Wayback Machine, which is a great way to research, because when people scrub websites, you can go back using the Wayback Machine and see what they've scrubbed. Well, here it says under the website minethorn.com, which apparently must not be operating anymore because they've used the Wayback Machine to find that they were connected with DARPA. And it says Minethorn Technology, ownership, woman owned, and they have this company Minethorn has connections to DARPA, has contracts with them. Now let's go on. And Bellbrook, Ohio is where this Minethorn Technology, and she lives in Bellbrook, Ohio. So there is that, and this is their logo. And let's see what this is. There is her, the mother and son together. And let's come down here. And there is Moira, and assistant store manager. Oh, she's only the assistant store manager. Okay. Her company has contracts with DARPA, but she's the assistant store manager of a Bath and Body Works. Not that I'm putting down any retail store managers. I'm just saying that when you have a company that is bringing in 27.5 million, you don't generally need to take another job. Just saying. So, yeah, so this is her assistant store manager, and then this is her LinkedIn, assistant store manager, Bath and Body. It's the same person, evidently. And look at here, Bath and Body Works. Who's that owned by? Well, Leslie H. Wexner, founder of Bath and Body Works. Yes, he gets around, doesn't he? He's got Victoria's Secrets, he's got the Limited, he's got, which also owns, don't they own Old Navy and the Gap? I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. So anyway, Leslie H. Wexner, founder of Bath and Body Works LLC, was born in Dayton, Ohio, America. Where was he born again? Where did it say he was born? That's right, Dayton, Ohio. Where have we heard that recently? Connections. And he was America on let me see, founder on 8th of September 1937. He belonged to a family of Jews of Russia who migrated to the United States of America after completing his early education from the local schools of his hometown. He got admission in the Ohio State University. From that university, he completed his graduation in the field of business administration. There he joined the Sigma Alpha Mu fraternity. No, not the Sigma Alpha Mu. I don't know what I'm saying. And became its member. He also became a student at the law school for a shorter period of time, but he left the education of law earlier from the supposed time period. And now it says Leslie H. Wexner, founder of Bath & Body Works, LLC, born in Dayton, Ohio, America, on 8th of September, 1937. Yeah. Gee, nothing suspicious there. Yeah. This is why people like myself and people like you don't believe the official narrative of these types of situations, because there's always this stuff. Always, always. Yeah. All right. So I wanted to be sure to show you that, because that should be seen by everyone. Now, let's go back. I am trying to rush here so that I can get through as much of this as possible. Now, we're going to look at his father. We looked at the mother. We're going to look at the father. Same sorts of strange, bizarre things. His name is Steve. And Steve is listed as his father, you know, the fruiter. And NASA awards $375 million contract to Altamira Technologies Corporation, and he works at Altamira Technologies Corporation, and this is a formerly Invertex, provides technologies and services in the mission areas of intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, enterprise information technology, and communications mission systems to the greater national security information or community. Now, isn't this fascinating? We see this time and time and time again with these fruiters. They seem to have all these contacts to the intelligence community. Why? Could be because it's legal now to conduct these sorts of psyops, these sorts of propaganda. It's legal in the US. It was legalized in what was it, 2008, or it was legalized, well, it was legalized under Obama. I know that. So it couldn't have been 2008 because that's when he was first came into power. So it's got to be later than that, but maybe it was 2014. It was 2014, I believe. So yeah, there you go. How come? I mean, if this really happened the way they said, I mean, now I'm not doubting that there are people that are deceased because of, well, might have been this guy, might have been somebody else, but they're deceased. There was a fruiting. But isn't it odd that both his parents were connected to the intelligence community when we have, MK Ultra? You can't even argue anymore that doesn't exist, because it does. And it's well known, and a lot of it has been declassified. So you can't even argue with that. So knowing what MK Ultra does, knowing that it's legal to commit these types of psyops, then tell me why we wouldn't question when both parents are involved in the intelligence community. Why wouldn't we question that? You're crazy not if you question, you're crazy if you don't question, to me. So here it's Altamira Technologies, acquired by Investor Group, and also he is listed for his work is Mindthern Technology. How about that, people? And oh, and look where Altamira is their head office or whatever is McLean, Virginia. Now, what else is in McLean, Virginia? Now, what else? What else now? You know, I'm not going to say it. You know, it's the three-letter agency that starts with a C and ends with an A. That's right. And so, yeah, it all connects. It all connects. It's very odd, and really, I don't know how anybody could not question. And now, not everybody has the time to do deep digging, and I understand that. But those, you know, at least you're seeking it out. You're seeking that information out, and that is good, because we should never trust, not anymore. Not since they've made it legal. Sorry, my leg is itchy. Not since they've made it legal to lie to us. It's legal. They can lie to us on TV. It's called a PSYOP, and it's psychological warfare, and it's legal. They can do any sort of propaganda that they want to, and it's perfectly legal. They can tell us what they want. That is why they have companies devoted to actors for these events. Yes, they do. And we've proven that in the past. So now this, it says Cernovich report, Dayton shooter echoed AOC's language on concentration camps, and ICE was member of Democratic Socialist Party and idolized left-wing politicians. But weren't we told that he was a Trump supporter? Or have they abandoned that narrative? I don't know. All right. And another heads up, anybody living in Portland, heads up. Here is what the terror group ANTIFA plans on doing August 17th in Portland. Now, this is the little flyer. It says ANTIFA, and I'm sorry, but if you say that word, you are censored, so you have to be careful. Now, maybe I wouldn't be, but maybe I would be, and I'm not willing to take that risk. So that is why I spell it out. Comrades, don't forget to disguise yourself. Now, let's listen to this. Don't forget to disguise yourself as patriots / Trump supporters. Wear MAGA hats, U.S. flags, 3% ER insignias. I'm not sure what that means. 3% ER insignias. Excuse me. A convincing police uniform is even better. So they want to make it seem that this violence is caused by both Trump supporters and police. Now, why would they want to do that? Why on earth would they want to do that? Yeah, we know. We know. So when Q said that August was going to be hot, it's hot in August. Well, it's hot, all right. Now, August 17th, 2019, this way, police and patriots responding to us. This way, police and patriots responding to us won't know who their enemies are, and onlookers and the media will think there are Trump supporters rioting, so it's harder to turn popular opinion against us. Yeah, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. These people are our enemies. They want to dress up like Trump supporters with wearing MAGA hats, or if possible, they want to dress up as convincing police officers so that people responding aren't going to know one from the other. They're going to think that it's the Trump supporters that are rioting. Isn't that lovely? Now, let's look at this. I have so much stuff to bring you guys, and I wish I wasn't running out of time. I know it's getting late, and it's getting late for me because I'd like to, you know, at some point get some shut-eye. But let me do at least one more, and we'll call it a night. We can all just look at the night and say, that's a night. So yeah, okay, this is globalists have set Operation Blame the Populace in motion. Oh really? I hadn't noticed. Had you? Yes, I think we all noticed. This past week, events have sent the economic world into a tailspin. Mainstream analysts were so sure of themselves heading into the July Federal Reserve meeting, the Fed was going to cut rates by a respectable margin. Oh, hello, you're back. They were going to, I don't know, I get tired and then I just get goofy. I shouldn't even try past maybe 11:30. That's like the magic cutoff point for me, and then I start getting goofy. The Fed was going to cut rates by a respectable margin, or they were going to cut incrementally and promised the markets through thinly veiled language that QE4 was well on the way. This was supposed to be a certainty. They did not get what they were hoping for, but I don't think many people understand why the Fed did what they did. I have long held that the Fed had no intention of kicking the can on the economic crash that is currently underway, and that the Fed's tightening cycle was a way to restrict liquidity into economic weakness in order to trigger the collapse of the everything bubble. I predicted over the past 2 years that the Fed would keep liquidity conditions tight until right before or after an accelerated crash in fundamentals and markets. The crash in fundamentals has already begun in 2018 and 2019. A return to incremental crash conditions in stock markets has also now likely started. While I believe the central bank would hold rates steady in July, Jerome Powell's public statements after the Fed's announcement of a minor 0.25 BPS rate cut were even worse for market investors to hear and only support my original position. Powell's assertion that the cut was merely a mid-year adjustment and not the beginning of an easing cycle horrified the investment world. Powell was telling markets quite bluntly that the punch bowl was not coming back anytime soon. On top of this, St. Louis Fed President James Bullard refused to commit to any further interest rate adjustments this year, citing a wait-and-see approach which could take many months. Once again, Fed officials are making it clear that expectations for a stimulus bonanza are naive. The consensus seems to be that the Fed has offered too little, too late, and I would say that this is a completely deliberate action. Frankly, there was nothing holding the Fed back from a cut of 0.50 BPS and lavishing the financial media with images of QE heaven. Trump says he wants it, the day trading world is begging for it, and central bankers rarely shy away from more money printing, unless, of course, the banking elites want a crash to happen in the near term, that is, and they do. The Fed has basically admitted to America that yes, we are entering recession territory and that the recovery they have been promoting for the past several years is a fraud. At the same time, they told investors that they aren't going to do jack about it. The Fed followed its rate adjustment disappointment with a large dump of assets from its balance sheet, around $36 billion total in July, with no certainty of a new stimulus in the near term and no certainty of further rate cuts this year. Stocks were pummeled, and this is a downtrend that is probably going to continue for the rest of the year, with pauses and dead cat bounces mixed in. And a dead cat bounce is when the stock markets crash and hit the bottom, but then it's like anything, if you drop and it falls, it bounces, right? So that's called the dead cat bounce, when a stock crashes and then comes back up a little bit, and people think, oh, it's recovering. No, it's a dead cat bounce. It's going back down again. So anyway, where was I there? With pauses and dead cat bounces mixed in. I hate actually the name dead cat bounce because, well, I think you can probably figure out why. Of course, the banking elites have a plan, and they intend populists to help them, wittingly or unwittingly. Cue Donald Trump. Like clockwork, the Trump administration jumped into the fray the very next day to distract the media and everyone else from the Fed's actions by initiating even more surprise tariffs on China. China has now responded with a complete freeze on imports of U.S. agricultural products. In return, the U.S. Treasury labeled China a currency manipulator. China is now threatening to devalue the yuan, which will shake global equities and the forex markets to the core. Keep in mind that all of this has happened in less than a week. Suddenly, the blame for the latest stock market plunge is being attributed to Trump rather than the Fed. How convenient for these central bankers. 4 thoughts on the latest developments. Well, here comes Sammy, and hopefully he's not hungry and is not going to chew my cords while I finish. All right, no cords for Sammy. I'm here. Okay. 1. Trump bringing down stocks on purpose to beat the Fed into submission. This is crazy town talk. First, I've noticed a narrative going around that Trump has expanded the trade war in the game of chicken with the Fed, his intention to drive stock markets down in order to force the Fed to cut rates and launch new QE measures. I'm sorry, but this theory makes little sense. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read the 4 headlines, and I'm going to put this also in the very first comment. I'll pin it because it's a long article and we simply are running out of time. This is getting to be a very long broadcast, which I did not intend it to be. The Fed and the elites are against the trade war. Second, Jerome Powell has insinuated in his recent statements that the only reason the Fed was considering the bare bones rate cut in July was because of Trump's trade war and the instability it might cause. Here we see the globalist narrative of the evil populace being built into the minds of the public. The assertion that the crash in fundamentals is due to the trade war and the trade war alone. And the trade war is a product of nationalism and populism. Thus, all populists are culpable for the crash. The central banks that created the massive financial bubble, they get a pass. Always. And let's come down here. Trump is secretly trying to bring down the U.S. economy to defeat the globalists in a game of 6-6-D chess. 666D chess. The theory stems from a subset of people within the liberty movement that would give anything to believe that a hero on a white horse is coming to fight their battles against the globalists for them, but it's simply not reality. Also, again, it makes no sense. If Trump had detached his administration completely from the economic bubble from the very beginning and said, hey, I don't take credit for the stock market boom because it's a fraud created by the Fed, only then would the above theory have any potential. If Trump said to the Fed and to the American people, I will try to mega whether the Fed raises rates or cuts rates, and when the economy invariably crashes, the American people should blame the central bank, then perhaps we might consider him a heroic statesman. That is not the cause. Now, there's a lot of stuff in here, and I don't know if I agree with it all or not, because I'm not an economist, and, I have certain knowledge, but, my knowledge is not, anywhere near what the people that evaluate all these things is, and I might not be the right person to comment, but I am going to leave the link for you to peruse and let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, it's not over yet. The next stage is a no-deal Brexit. As I predicted in March of this year, a no-deal Brexit event is the most likely outcome as it most serves the interests of globalists in pinning a crash in the U.S. and parts of Europe on populist and sovereignty activists. With the exit of the Theresa May and the rise of Boris Johnson, a no-deal panic is all but assured. The EU banking system is on the verge of a Lehman moment. Deutsche Bank is in shambles. Italy's banks are ticking time bombs. Many EU nations have national debts well above their annual GDP. It is only a matter of time before a crisis in the European Union occurs. Any person that is educated on the weaknesses of global interdependency would tell you that this crash is the fault of no borders globalists. But with populists rising to a moderate extent in the UK, Germany, France, etc., the globalists don't have to take the blame for the failure of their supranatural national experiment. Actually, they can use the crash to their advantage by blaming nationalism, then using the ensuing public fear as a springboard to launch a global supranational union, first economically and then in the form of a single world government. Why else would the ECB be taking on Christine Lagarde, the most vocal proponent of the global economic reset, as chairman at this time? This is about engineered chaos. This is about Hegelian problem reaction solution dynamic. That is, the Hegelian dialect. As already mentioned, the Fed has just admitted in an indirect way that there is no economic recovery and there will be no QE until it's too late to even stall a crisis for a short amount of time. Trump has just admitted that the trade war is not going to end in his first term as president and that it will only get much worse from here on in. All that is left is for a no-deal Brexit to send shockwaves throughout Europe and maybe another shooting war, Venezuela or Iran. Understanding the deeper objectives of the globalists can help us to prevent them from succeeding. At the very least, it helps us to avoid being duped into helping them. At any rate, the rest of this year is surely going to lead to what they call interesting times. Now, that I definitely believe. I believe we are heading toward a crisis. And I do believe that I don't know. I don't know. I want to believe that Q is not leading us down the garden path, that Trump is a very good man. I mean, so far, he has done well, but I do also believe we're headed for a crisis, and I don't know how that can be avoided, but there are people much smarter than I working on it, thank goodness. So anyway, I will put the link to this in the pinned comment, the first pinned comment, and I'm going to stop for there. It is now 12:05 a.m., so I need to get this uploaded, and I need to get my, well, I was going to say beauty rest, but it doesn't work anymore after a certain age, beauty rest. Anyway, all right, there you go, and boy, this seems very dark. Anyway, it doesn't matter. That is it. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Sleep well, stay safe, and please keep your eye out for anything suspicious. It can happen anywhere at any time. Be prepared. And also get yourself prepared with a little bug out bag if you need it. Have some extra medication and whatever you would need to survive, a little bit of food. You don't have to go and buy all that expensive prep stuff. You can do it yourself. Beans and rice can keep you alive for a very long time, and it's very cheap. So I'm not advocating. I don't have any promotions on this website. I'm not or advertisements. So I'm not profiting in any way by telling you that, and that's why I don't have it on here, because if I was profiting from it and telling you that you need to be prepared, then you would have reason to question my motives, and rightfully so. So good night, stay safe, and keep seeking truth, because deception bites. I can't wait to see you the next time, and I will be here tomorrow. And that's, I guess it. I never know what to say at the end, but I'll just say good night.